This is episode 192 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dio Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel, stuck in a loop, Manzano.
Yeah, I've been having Groundhog Day every tournament. It's always the same thing. I go 5-1, get my hopes up, and then get thrashed in the cut. So I gotta figure out how to break that. Either go 0-6 or not get thrashed in the cut.
There you go. Will, it was a joke. Sus. Hagwood.
You do not joke about who's the imposter in Among Us. People will take you very seriously.
And Ryan, cone of shame? Staniszewski?
Yeah, I had to take my cat to the vet because we thought she might have had something a little more serious on her tummy that she kept licking at. Not as serious anymore, but still had to apply the cone of shame. So I'm the bad guy today.
It happens, man. Somebody has to be the bad guy. All right. As for announcements and news, this weekend is the Delta qualifier. If you are a participant and you have not been approved through TTT, that means that either I haven't got to, if it's within the last, by the time this podcast goes out tonight, I will have gone through everybody who submitted all their forms. But if you think that you're set to go and you're not accepted through TTT, there's likely something you're missing. I did send out emails this last week saying, hey, double check X, Y, and Z. But it's looking like we're going to end up probably around the same number of people. I know usually there's a big rush at the end of, basically when we get to Friday, people get paid on Friday. They're like, all right, cool, let's enter the tournament now. So you have up until Friday night, Chicago time, to get signed up for that. This is going to be the one of the England qualifiers, one of two, the Delta qualifier. It's going to be extended. Super excited about it, and we'll see what ends up shaking out. Also, if you played in the Alpha qualifier on goldsquadronpodcast.com, there is a results section that includes a spreadsheet with the top 8 of each faction as well as everybody's ranking. So if you haven't taken a look at that, please double check your placements, because once we start getting prizes ready, those will be final. If you need to make you need to contest something, please get in contact with us. There was actually a player who did notice a mistake that I made. That they actually were in it, and they're like, Dion, I shouldn't be in the top 8 of a faction. I think I typed in 23 instead of 33 on their rank accidentally at some point, and that shifted some things around. So shout out to that player. Thank you so much. So make sure to double check those spreadsheets. And that's our podcast today is brought to you by that Delta qualifier. If you want to be a part of that flight club, go ahead, GoSquadronPodcast.com, get signed up. All right, so today is all about atomic mass games. Oh, by the way, guys, I have some bad news. I have to share the bad news. Yes. So I had told you that I had ordered an edible arrangements for atomic mass games, and the delivery was attempted today, and unfortunately the delivery did fail. They left them a note on the door. But it turns out that basically they go in the morning, and they left relatively early today, somewhere around 11 a.m. their time, and the delivery didn't get there until about 3 p.m. that time. So sad face. They left them a note letting them know they can pick it up. I kind of doubt that they'll pick it up, but they might not end up getting our edible arrangements. Sad face. But anyway, this Wednesday, Atomic Mass Games is putting on their basically intro to Star Wars. Have they titled this thing? Like it is a Star Wars talk essentially, and of course, our game X-Wing is a part of the whole thing. Today is just us talking about what do we think they'll talk about? What do we want them to talk about? I think is more important. And to my podcast hosts and to everybody watching, this discussion today is very wide. Like, we have 2 different sections in our notes. What are some practical things that we think we can hope for? And what are some pipe dream things we can hope for? But what slots in there is completely up to our opinion, our thoughts. There is no right or wrong answer. It's completely up to what we want. So, I'll go ahead and get started here by asking Ryan. I'm going to have you open up the conversation today. Okay, what is something practical that you would like AMG to address in their talk, whether it be about their Star Wars miniatures in general or about X-Wing specifically?
I just kind of want to know, it's because I feel like it's going to be a generalized talk, or what they're calling a transmission. I went to look it up exactly what they're calling this. It's Atomic Mass Games Transmissions Live Star Wars Edition. I just want to hear from them, candidly as they can be, what they feel and how they're going to shape what's been given to them towards the future. I don't need specific like this date, and this date. I want to know from their perspective as game developers what they plan to infuse into the Star Wars games. If they plan to keep everything that's already been built, like X-Wing, Legion, and Armada, and any other Star Wars games that they're ingesting from FFG, are they keeping all of them? Are they only keeping some of them? And the ones that they are keeping, how are they making changes, adjustments, or what their generalized plans are, right? I just want to, like, I hope they can speak as candidly as they can and what they hope they can accomplish, like their general, like 3 years from now or whatever, like we hope we are doing this awesome thing, right? Or how they want to put their stamp on the Star Wars gaming franchise, essentially.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's unpack your thoughts there. I mean, is there anything that, I mean, I haven't played Marvel Crisis Protocol. I know, Marcel, you've looked at it a little bit. You at least, I know you have it. I don't know if you've read the rules or anything like that. Is there anything that that we've seen AMG do already that we think could be good in X-Wing, something that they can translate over to our game? Have you guys seen anything like that?
I think I've got the core set. I've played 2 games on Tabletop Simulator, so it's hard to know like what they've done right or wrong with it, being that I don't even know if I played it correctly. It was me and Nate Moore just trying to figure it out. So we spent like 3 hours trying to play one match and figure out if we were doing things right or wrong. But what I can't say that seems to be right is the frequency and updates. They seem to be sending out a lot of updates, pretty frequent. Some of them to the rules, but mostly like new stuff, which is good for players and bad for players' families who have to share that share of wallet because it's getting spent there instead of somewhere else. But yeah, it's hard to say. Because the game is more based on, at least from what I've seen it's more based on like combinations and things that probably you would get in a Magic the Gathering type of card game where you're mixing things up rather than positioning.
Okay.
Because from what I've seen, like it's one of those games where you just like eyeball it, you put it up here, and you're like, okay, I'll move over there. Did it reach? Yeah, why not? Yeah, it looks like it'll reach. Like you just jump 3 stories up. Yeah, whatever. But I don't know. Again, it's a different game. So, in Magic the Gathering, you're not like trying to put your cards in the exact same position. It's just, do the combos match or do they not match? That's
a great point, because one of the we also don't know. They've said that there are staff that has gone from FFG to AMG to help with the transition. That's like the wording that we've got. We don't know who is familiar with X-Wing that's gone over there for sure. And I mean, would you all agree that essentially X-Wing, that we have the meme, right? X-Wing is a game of positioning. And we gotta make sure the positioning is still a part of it, and that's something that we won't really know. I'm going to be dramatic. We won't know if it's a problem till it's too late, because they would have already made the content, right? Here's the content; it's made already. Hopefully, you like it. You know. And now, I mean, X-Wing is the dial, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
So
That's what makes the game.
So hopefully we don't get anything too crazy there. Yeah, I'm curious with their, and I wrote this down on kind of my list things. It's essentially their philosophy of game design, right? Is we don't know anything about their history outside of Marvel Crisis Protocol, and really there could be more there. We just don't know who's actually working on our game, and I know I understand the practical part, right? Because there's going to be people like, well, Dion, we haven't given them a chance, and I get it. But my job as a podcaster is to speculate and be worried about stuff, okay? And I love this game, and I want to make sure that everything's okay. All right, I want to make sure that everything's okay. And I had written down here is I want. If they have an opportunity, let's say ideal conditions happens, okay? Ideal conditions. And they start talking about each individual game. What are maybe some reassurances that are major pillars of the game that you would like to hear from them? What is something that would just give you just a little bit of comfort? Something like whatever that might be. You got anything there, Will?
I mean, to me, it is what you just said. The X-Wing has always been the dial. Like, it's never been about, taking the tape measure out and moving the ships, or accurately choosing your position with board knowledge. The fun part, what I get the enjoyment out, is making calls and bluffs and feints with the dials, the predictions, calling it right, calling that 4K, knowing that there's, you're only going to make it by this much, but there's a good chance you might not make it. But if you don't dial in the 4K, you're going to lose the game. That's those decisions, that silence of the planning phase, is what I really think makes X-Wing. I don't think you could replace the dial system in X-Wing without I think Armada has a similar thing where your dials are more like actions. They kind of stack up, or whatever. And even then, that's just that's not exactly the decision making of it. So that's really what I would want them to emphasize, and to I'm not sure if they can even expound upon the dial.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Is there even a way that you could do that to emphasize the dial choicing?
Just add new options, add new dial options, new maneuvers. When eventually they introduced the sloop at some point, a Talon roll that didn't exist before, they started incorporating reverse maneuvers. They started playing with range 2 boost more recently with the overdrive. So there's positioning things that they can definitely do. Same thing with purple K turns or
Talon
purple
rolls and stuff.
Talon rolls, yeah.
Yeah,
so
but
there's things,
I mean, the extra maneuvers is definitely interesting, but I was trying to think of something that they could incorporate with the dial. But I guess the Naboos have already been doing that, right? Contrail, if you're matching dials with people, I guess that's maybe the extent of it right now. But I would like a brand new idea, a new way to let me guess with my dial better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's interesting. So outside of having a positional advantage, some more triggers that say when I compare my dial to yours or your dial to
No, I
mine.
think it's more like I like that like bluffing and fating or something of like you know what Cassian Andor crew.
That's what I was gonna tell you. Like, why don't you
Yeah.
fly Cassian Andor more?
But see, Cassian, you guess their dial, then you get to change yours, I guess. But like, I would rather. I think it'd be cool to have other abilities of like, if you could guess someone's dial correctly, you get a focus token. But if you only got the bearing right, you get a calculate or something like that.
Okay, I like that. I like that. I think that would be something that I would want to probably trigger like before revealing the dial, like at no other time. So you don't get extra information. You don't get extra information for your moves,
okay.
right?
Okay,
Because that would be because the sooner that would something like that. Cassian happens during the system phase. Right, so
Yeah.
I mean that's Intel Agent. That is what's the second edition of version of Intel Agent that nobody plays? Informant, right? It's
Yeah, but I like that. Then I like that.
right. So if we move it all the way to right before revealing, that takes away the cost of getting more information, but you could still possibly guess and get a benefit.
I like that. Like I said, I think that like it's hard to feint and bluff, but you can definitely do it. You know what I mean? Like one ship kind of veers this way, then bam, cuts right back in.
I like that.
Could be interesting. I'll just kind of popped in my head. So you could have an ability or maybe just a base in-game option. Before your opponent reveals a dial, you may reveal one of your ship's dials to guess what theirs is. If you get it right, because now they see it, right? You get to guess what they're doing, but you've given up your secrecy to guess that. And if you guess it right, you may be able to shift your dial X amount of positions. Maybe not just change it completely, but you can shift it 1, 2, 3 positions. But now they know, but you also guessed what they did, right? So you've given up your secrecy to get that bonus.
I like that. I wouldn't. I don't know about like changing your own dial afterwards, but I do think that's a hilarious way to bluff your opponent. Like you got like a whole swarm of ships, and you're like, "All right, well, I want to know what you're doing, but I'm going to show you this 5 forward." And they're like, "You guys are all 5 forwarding? You guys are fools." And you're like, "Nope, just that guy. Everybody else is 3 banking here."
Yeah, I mean that. I like that. I like that a lot.
I mean, we're not game designers, so I'm not sure how to implement it, but I want more of that kind of poker-esque guessing game.
I would say if that was a base rule, like I mentioned, I feel like that might elongate the game a bit because you have to remember every time before someone reveals a dial, do you want to flip one of yours to guess what mine is to get X amount of whatever advantage it may be?
Yeah, it sounds like an upgrade.
Like a unique pilot.
It sounds like an upgrade card or a pilot ability for sure. And I could see maybe like a generic crew or something like that. That could be interesting. That could be if you brought back the name intelligence agent, right, or something like that, or rebel
if
spy.
You brought back the name adaptability, making a talent again.
There you go.
You're adapting, right?
You are adapting.
If you guess on your adaptive of what they know, giving up your secrecy, you adapt and change something or get something bonus.
True. I like that, and I think that idea, that mechanic, you could build a bunch of different things off of that. That is open design space. Guessing dial before reveal. That you could build a ton of pilots and upgrade cards and all kinds of bonuses, scaling from absolute garbage but hilarious to something that ends up being super expensive. I think whatever it is though needs to have charges. You only can do it a couple of times. I think that's important for sure. Another kind of and this is again maybe asking people in the chat. I'm not sure if there's anything like this in Marvel Crisis Protocol, but one of the things that I'm surprised we haven't seen more of in X-Wing is kind of like more synergy based. I think this is definitely kind of this is more fluff idea, and I don't know how good it would be, but like encouraging certain squadron types. Like if we got an alphabet squadron pack, right? And there was like similar to the IG-88s, where if every ship in the squad equipped a certain thing, they get some type of bonus while they're with each other. I don't know what that would be, and we got it could be it fits really well with the rebels, right? Because we know Gold Squadron. There could be I think Ryan, I see you typing in the chat there, Rogue Squadron, Red. But then we also have like the 181st, right? The interceptors out there. That would be maybe a way to bring some generic interceptors into play, right? You have Soontir and the fam after that. Deslin9 in the chat says the developers of War Machine have a lot of experience with that in theme forces. Sure, like that sounds right up the alley of some cool possibilities. You could do Black Sun. What else we got going on? Maybe like bounty interdictor, bounty hunters. I don't know.
Hut cartel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then because they have in the points document, right, these new labels that they've added in there. Like there's that new Mandalorian label that we saw that some of the pilots have. So that would be a place to do it, right? So that's just, we're just throwing out ideas there for game design stuff, but yeah, I do like that idea of wondering what they're gonna bring. The major pillar you brought up there, Will, to kind of circle all the way back is the dial. Is making sure that the dial is still super important. Now, this is the dual one for me that I want to bring up is, what does AMG need to do with that app for it to actually be worth something? Okay, let's throw some gasoline on the fire, because the app is hot garbage. My video review that I put out, the first 30 seconds I say just don't even use it. Okay, you could watch the rest of the review, but it says don't use it. Like what are some things that they can do to make it so that Ryan, Marcel, and Will, what would they have to do to get you to use it?
Wow, the possibilities are endless. I'm gonna say, so I'm gonna put like my web development marketing hat on a little bit, but yeah, I mean, really the possibilities are endless. You can. As a way to promote your game and as a way to promote organized play, start putting not just using it for list building but we also talked in the past using it for list building plus submitting it as part of your entry for organized play, and then to go even a step above that is recording all of that the way that some of the fan sites already do. And starting to do player rankings and starting to more legitimately build out, because it's a competitive game, and I think the competitive nature of it really drives a lot of the player base, and it drives even the players that are not at the top. It drives them to try to improve. And if there's some type of ranking and player ranking, and then maybe you can even put in, like we would put in like a Gold Squadron or a 312 or a Fly Better, and have team rankings, have like guilds, have a faction ranking, have individual player ranking, and use that as a basis for invitationals and different kind of bragging rights. You can also bring in a lot of the FAQ. They killed off, today they killed off the forum. So you can bring in a lot of the rules, not just the rules PDF, but a kind of a searchable FAQ and things like that are more for supporting, like the judges, for the judges to be able to support officially, like what the official stance is on certain things. Q&As. You can do loyalty points, loyalty rewards, and that way, especially since it's still going through Asmodee and they have only designated suppliers, you can have loyalty rewards where the more ships you buy through a designated local store versus like buying it online or something like that you accumulate points and loyalty points, and then you get percent off on store championships and things like that. So there's plenty of things that they can do from the organized play, from just the not just the list building, but submitting the lists, helping out the judges, and I don't know. I mean, there's just so many things that you can do that it just takes time and money and vision, time, and money, I would say.
Yeah, but it sounds though, with some of the possibilities that they could possibly use with the app, is that they're leaving money on the table. And I guess that's going to be a cost versus benefit analysis there, right? Because it's going to take time. Like you said, it's going to take time and money for them to put it in and have the idea to put it. But if for them they could somehow generate revenue out of it, we might be able to get a better app, and that kind of feed the continuous development of it. And people were talking about in the chat, again, going back to the roots of the original founder of Atomic Mass Games in War Machine and Hordes. I think that they have a pretty robust app that they use in their game that they can use to track the progress of the game. I personally have never used it, but my understanding is that you could even have like your cards be in there. You can transfer your lists to somebody via the phone actively while playing. Kind of reminds me of like the old school Game Boy. Let's link up our machines so I can give you information. But I mean that seems neat. That seems cool. War Room. So there you go. People saying War Room is pretty nice. Yeah, the app, man. And my problem with it, I see a couple people like, well, the app is good for X or Y or Z. My biggest problem with the app is that there are fundamental mistakes that contradict the PDF documents. Thus, I can't trust it for anything. I can't trust it for anything. And the biggest, here is like my number one feature that I want in there. It's such a small thing. Have a button somewhere where I can let you know there's a mistake. Even if it's a single somewhere to submit a bug report and say there's a problem. Both on Launch Bay Next and Yet Another Squad Builder, tabletop.to, all of our community tools have a button to say something is wrong. And that is where a lot of the small mistakes, which happens, right? There's human error in data entry where we can say, hey, something is wrong. This is a mistake. And then the next part is having somebody actually get those reports and say, oh, we have this number wrong in here. It's supposed to be a 6, not a 5, and fix it and push it out to everybody. Because my understanding of the way that the app works is that it's all hosted on a web server, and your phone is pulling from that server, right? So, I mean, is that too much to ask for? So that is the number one thing I want out of the app. Ryan, what about you?
So don't reinvent the wheel. If you're not good, so the chat has mentioned, of course, and a lot of people are going to mention this. Just hire Rathos or just use Launch Bay. That would be cool, potentially. I actually think as an app, Launch Bay is actually the most likely because of some integration they're doing with tournament results and working with Pink Brain Matter on that data. So it's a more well-rounded app as far as I know, by comparison to Yasby just being a web browser-based tool. So if they were to use Community One, I would guess they would lean towards Launch Bay. Now, with that in mind, is it likely they're going to? I would say no. Does AMG or those developers have any history? And someone in the chat, please let me know. Any history of using community-made stuff, like on a legality basis for their events? That'd be good to know. It seems like they already, according to the chat, have bug reports. So Dion, if they implement, like War Room has bug reports, so you may already have that covered. Easy. But I would say, like, if they're not going to just use or let the community use what's already been created, just do the research and see why people enjoy using Yasby, why they enjoy using Launch Bay, why we as a community or most of the community want you to just potentially just hire them or buy the app straight up. Mm-hmm. If you're not going to do that, which is highly likely that they can't for probably LFL reasons realistically, less so their own reasons, then just learn why it's successful. You don't need to copy and paste it, but understand why the community has enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, what's the functionality from there that everybody loves, right? Yeah.
So if you can capture why those are successful and implement that into the app, that already is going to make it, I don't know, 10 times better than the current one, right? We hate scrolling. Stop making us scroll so much just to look at a picture of a card. Or like make it easy to pop up just the pilots, right? With the Yasby, it's just like you hit the drop down. Most of the pilots are just words. We don't need the entire card and scroll through the card and figure out what it is, right?
Right.
But I do like the Marcel's mentioning of the integration of stuff like, I believe, as I haven't played Magic, but I know from playing at my store, I've seen, and when I talk to the people who work at the store, when they host Magic events, players have ID cards. They have things that say, this is how we're going to track you being in events, even locally with a game store, to track potential data. You know, whether it is data to help the game grow, balance, determine where there should be more organized events even. And maybe along with that, there's something tied to it, such as year-long or seasonal rewards. So maybe you can't make it to events, but maybe you've gone to all these local things. Maybe there's an incentivizing to do that to help support the local stores more. Because it does sound like AMG is a little more on the play at your local store side. I don't think they've set up many big events, mainly because one, Marvel Crisis Protocol is new, and we had 2020 happen.
That whole thing.
That whole thing. So maybe there were obviously potential plans. So if they're more local based, maybe they help incentivize that. And maybe there's also something tied with your ID card that if you need to report anything that positive or criticism based feedback, it could be all tied to it to help aggregate all that data, know where it's coming from, proximity based, localized, who you are as a player, standing wise, and not saying just because you're like a higher standing player means you have a higher level of like influence on anything, but it's just more things they can track. It's just more data they can have and more correct, informative decisions they can make going forward.
I mean, that's the exact reason why for the Flight Club Championship, I've set that exact thing up. Everybody who plays is assigned a Gold Squadron ID. Everybody has GS numbers. A random number set out there that is unique to them for that exact reason. It's to get a better understanding of the community and make better choices for them. So I mean, this is stuff that that could, because that's tracking community involvement, right? And the problem, I think, kind of connecting to what you're saying and going a little bit off of what first time caller is saying, well, can't they just track it from the phone too? You're right, but if people aren't using the app, they can't, right? So if they want the data, the app needs to be so good that we want to use it.
Oh, yeah. And like, I'm not saying it has to be a physical card. Like, ideally, the app's so good, it creates a digital card for you with a QR code. The store probably just scans, and then bam, you're signed in for your event. You're good. You're logged in. It's just scan. That's it. Done. Easy.
So, yeah, and let's actually, this is a perfect transition into what do we want them to talk about when it comes to organized play? Because obviously we had 2020, COVID happened, organized play disappears. What are some things that we want to hear from them that will give us some comfort, some intrigue? What do we want to see?
Well, there's a couple things, but I think lately, just with the conversations that I've been having, trying to get the XTC kind of rolling again this year, is one of the things that I think I would love to hear is what are they going to do to help support some of the areas that FFG just completely left out. More specifically, South America, Mexico. Mexico got a little support. Brazil got really bad. Argentina got really bad. So just some of those South American locations in Asia. I think Asia as a whole just doesn't exist for FFG. Even if one of the world champions was from Asia, still doesn't exist. So just would love to see some more support outside of just the United States or just the United States and in Europe. So that's one of the things that I think I don't think we'll hear it for some reason, but that's one of the things that I hope they address.
Well, let's address that. So Asia is massive, right? There's so many, like China as a country is ginormous, okay? You're telling me that you can't find like 100 people in the massive country of China that might be interested in X-Wing?
They make it there.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like you're telling me you can't find some people who want to play this game. You're right. It's an untapped market, and maybe there's some legal stuff that we don't know about, like like embargoes on Star Wars stuff in the area.
I mean, China, yeah. I mean, places like Singapore won't have any. South Korea won't have any. Japan won't have any. India. Like there's places that won't have any type of those restrictions. China, maybe not. But even then, you don't really have to import to re-export. You can just find the local distributor, make it there, and keep it at the local distributor, never really export it out, and just create a branch. I mean, you just make a sister company that's based out of China if you want to operate in China. It's not that hard to do as long as the product is being made there. Mm-hmm. So. But not only to untapped markets that it's never been in, to try to grow the audience there or to grow the player base there. But I'm talking about places that have already said we got people ready to play.
Oh yeah.
We're ready to buy your stuff. Just put it on a boat or put it on a plane and get it to us and we'll buy it. Like we've got people that are ready to buy it, distribute it, run tournaments for you. Champion you, and even those countries weren't getting the.
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing from Alejandro Sperano, right? And him talking about how every time he would fly into the United States, he'd buy a bunch of X-Wing stuff and have to bring it down in a suitcase because they're like, yeah, we don't even have this wave. And there's these spots where we got wave 3, 4, and then 7, and everything in the middle we don't have it. Like there's weird stuff that has happened there that ends up affecting how they're able to play. But yeah, absolutely, being able to see some more consistency there. And I remember we did a podcast with some of the Brazilian players a while back talking about that exact thing, with them trying to apply a little bit of pressure to the Asmodee partner who was servicing Brazil. And supposedly there were some changes on the way, but then COVID, hit as soon as there were supposed to be major changes. So we don't know what's going to happen there, but yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Will? What do you want to see organized play-wise?
I think we need to focus in on what do people actually get out of tournaments, and why do people go there? And I think a lot of people do go there for the prizes, the unique memorabilia is really what it is, right? Like those things when they started doing the 17, and then we would have a special format for this, or 18 with a globe meant something different. Like those were one of the reasons why people went. So I don't think that they can exclude these kind of like small memorabilia things. I will say though, they've been handing out trophies for like store championships, like fun plaques and stuff like that, right? And I think that the alt art ships they had done for conventions, I think would be a way cooler like first place trophy for like regional kits and things. And that's like essentially like in their wheelhouse, right? To just make a couple extra ships, get a fun expansion or two. And I think that might actually be one of those like unobtainable prizes that people would go out and go for, right? Like a lot of people right now have focus tokens or a cool jam token or something like that, but like what we don't have is unique ships.
I like that a lot. I mean, so let's think about the production of that, right? So the convention exclusive Naboo starfighters and the vultures, right? How many of those do we think they made? Do we have a ballpark?
Maybe 300 or 400.
Right. So if they made 500 of them, I think they could probably sell across the world 500 store championship or regional kits with that in there. So I mean that to me sounds like smart. That
like
sounds
money.
Yeah, that's exactly. It sounds like pretty much because you charge for the ship because they were selling to us at market value, right? At cost. Yeah. The expansion
at market value. You're
right. $20 for the expansion. Well, it's now a trophy essentially. But yeah, if they did more alt art ships, they got the models already molded, slap some paint on it and go. I would love to collect those. I would love it. And I know one of the things that, even though he's not with the company anymore, Zach Rayburn, who was the head of OP before Alex Watkins, one of the things that he was searching for was a way to create prizes that people valued that could be also useful. And Will, I think you just like smacked it on the head. That's $1 million idea, man.
I got another one.
Go for it.
I just thought about it. So what if first place in the store champer event gets a gold dial cover and they look like those challenge coin types, and the second place, the finalist, gets that silver dial cover. You turn those challenge coins into dial covers. People still use them as shields maybe if they get enough of them, but we know how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like a great, right there, we may have just created two different tiers of tournaments, right? Maybe that's the store championship level, and then we have the regional level. There's still like local level events that have something that's really, really cool, right? I love that.
Yeah, like something, I think like, and that's really what they need to focus in. If they are trying to focus in on, like, we need to get people out to these local stores, right? Like they don't need to help a convention like Adepticon or Gen Con sell tickets for an X-Wing tournament, right? So they do need to, I think, like I said, reevaluate why people want to go to tournaments. I don't think it's always prizes. I say that it was it sounded like I was referencing my statement, but like there's definitely other reasons why people go to tournaments. I don't know how they could have an influence on like the social aspect of it and things like that, but they definitely can focus on the prizes.
Yeah, well, I think for me, my favorite part of obviously I put on the stream and all that, but most of us, our favorite part is those few hours we get after the tournament hanging out with people, right? That's the that picture that most of us post, right? At the end of a tournament, our favorite part of X-Wing, right? Hey, just being able to hang out with people and friends. Because one thing that I've noticed for X-Wing, and I've hit on this a lot, is that even people who traditionally didn't have a lot of friends or don't have large social groups maybe with them locally, when you're at an X-Wing tournament, as long as you're not a jerk to people, I'll hang out with you. Let's go hang out. Let's go. You want to come to the dinner? Let's go. Let's make it happen. And those are. I think we still end up getting, even if the prizes aren't, amazing at a system open, as long as they're good enough to draw in those people who want to go in just for the prizes, I think we end up still having really good turnout, because also as a community we view these major events as meta points, right? Like they are the thing we're trying to attain. It's the, what's the word? The clout that those big events bring.
My clout.
Oh man, yeah. So I mean, we I know we're kind of talking all over the place, but that's what today was about. It's just kind of us, just free flowing on what the future could hold, because there's a lot.
I got a tangent to go on.
Send me down the tangent.
This might be too controversial.
For this hold on to your butts.
But for referencing organized play, I do have a question about not what formats, but really how many formats. Because I know they were talking about a narrative format. We obviously have the 206 or whatever that's we currently our death match, 200-point death match right now. I was talking a bit about Epic in the chat, and of course, right now we have our standard death matches split up into hyperspace and extended as well. Mm-hmm. I would give you a clear answer of just how many formats. Would be my question to them, but my question to you guys is is more formats better or worse for the game? And is there a place should they be promoting different formats?
Go ahead,
Marcel. If you're talking about, I was going to say it depends.
Just for organized play.
Yeah, for organized play. So I think that FFG in 2019 kind of hit it out of the park in terms of how they ran that event, because they had the qualifier for the people that didn't show up, and then they had qualifiers leading up to the event, so it felt like a cohesive experience. It felt like a journey. You're trying to qualify, and then you're trying to get seating, and then if you didn't qualify, there's like a last opportunity to get there. Then you actually had the tournament, and on the days that you didn't have the tournament, that's where all of those side formats really came into play, and they were short enough to where you can just go in and spend 3 hours and then go and spend time with friends or hop around between different formats. And on top of that, they were all connected to like an event level collection of tickets, collection of points that were connected to a prize wall. So I thought 2019 has been the best event that FFG was the best event that FFG put
together. Talking about the 2019 the World's Experience,
the 2019 World's Experience, but he also leading up to the World's Experience, because again it was qualified to get to, so it felt like a season. It didn't just feel like whoever can make it or do a lottery. So that was
still doing regionals and system opens at that time to qualify as well, right?
Yeah, so that's where I think it that those other formats make sense. They make sense in support of a competitive environment. But I think if you try to have events that are strictly and only casual, side events, you're going to lose a lot of people. and you're probably gonna only attract local people. People don't travel for Aces High. People don't travel for Epic. They travel because they want to compete and they want to test their skill against everybody else in a premium event. If you were if you're a 1-in-5 player, you want to go in and do 2-2 or 3-3 and see progression. And if you're constantly making cuts or on the cusp of making cuts, you want to try to win that event. And that's what drives people to say, am I going to spend this $800 to fly across the country, be in a hotel, and do that? It's because of the competitive nature, not because of other things, except for Dion. Yeah. But again, even Dion, like you do that, like you would not do that for a casual event. If it's not a competitive event, you would not fly to stream something that where there's nothing at stake.
Right, because the thing is, there was always people who say, but I like thing, right? But I like Epic, but I like Aces High, but I like using objectives, but I like using the environment cards. And I get it. A lot of those things I like in a vacuum as well. But I think what AMG needs to look at, and what I think it's just a smart business decision, is what are the things that are going to capture the most amount of people. And then, if we have something like that big Worlds experience, which I think AMG needs to just copy and paste when we can, okay, is with those extra side events. That's where you got your weird stuff. Hey, and here's the thing, you could have not qualified. You could have not qualified for Worlds and still had cool X-Wing stuff to do and get some of the World swag by going. Like, that was amazing, and that's where you can have a side, a side Epic tournament, Aces High, objectives, all that. I think those things should exist, but I don't think, from a competitive standpoint, they are enough to hold up an entire event. Now, someone might argue, well, we haven't tried it yet. I get it, but the data tells me from the you gotta understand, like when we do these kind of really funky streams and we go outside of really far outside of the normal game, viewership goes down. As soon as it gets too weird, a significant portion of people don't care about the not standard game. A significant portion of people. And it usually doesn't go the opposite way. Someone who likes the weird stuff is usually okay with the standard game too. But they'll say, hey, I like the weird stuff too, which is fine. From a business standpoint, I feel like you prioritize the main format and you bring in all the other stuff to give people other options for when they don't make the cut, to keep them around, keep them involved. And those new, I think at a store level, like here, I would participate if at Pastimes or local store, they had a weekend event that had some type of narrative or something like that. I would do that. I would drive out for that. But I would worry if at a regional level, national level event, if that's what it becomes, I think it might be a turnoff for a little bit. But I mean, we really don't know until it gets tried. But I think keeping it standard should be all right.
And I think there is data to back it up, though. You're saying there is no data, and I think the data is in the level of participation that you get for official events versus non-official events.
Oh, I mean, I'm saying that there is data. It hasn't been quantified for those yet. But yeah, continue.
No, that was that's what I was saying. But yeah, I was just saying that when there's an official event and there's it doesn't, even if it's a tournament that has price support or everything else, just being official and being competitive is what drives people to it. And I would even go as far as saying, like, maybe even 33% higher. For example, when you did the GSP Classic, you had like 200 and something, or I don't know what the number was.
The in-person one?
Yeah, like the first one, the first
the
2.0
Gold
event.
Squadron Classic, we had like 100. I think we had just over 100, 120, something like that.
And had that been official, like had FFG, that 100 probably would have been closer to 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just once you make it official, once it's competitive, and it's connected to like the I won something, then that's what drives people. And you were also talking about like driving to pastimes for a casual weekend. You would do that. I would do that too, because that's my people and that's your people. But would you? During the store championship season, during that 1 year that we did 10 or 11 store championships,
Yeah.
like we would not go to 10 or 11 themed events. Like
if there was nothing on the line, probably not. Like unless there was something tangible where it was like this really cool prize that I wanted, but there is. It's the balance between what are the prizes available and what's the competitiveness of it, right? Because if I think one of the problems with scenario-based games is that if they're designed poorly, they can be broken pretty easily, and then there becomes one answer, right? It's like, okay, well, you do this. Or if you're on the if it's like a Rebels versus Imperial side, it's like, well, with these rules, whatever they are, obviously the Empire has the advantage because of this circumstances. Obviously, we're talking really general because we don't know what these things would actually look like. But yeah.
Yeah, but we live in a digital age, man. Those could all just be PDFs and updated by the minute if need be.
That's true.
I mean, we've seen emergency updates for different things in X-Wing. Why not an emergency update for a scenario?
We messed up. Click.
Yeah, but like, ooh, no large bases in this one, actually. Whoops.
Yeah, that is cool, man. Well, let's try to. Okay, we talked a little bit about organized play, what we hope for that. One of the things that let's start talking about Pipe Dream just a little bit. Like, what would be some of those, like, oh my God, they talked about this on this stream. I was not expecting that. What would be some of those?
I got a real far-fetched pipe dream.
Go ahead, shoot.
This is another highly controversial topic. I want extended to include everything in X-Wing. I'm talking hyperspace rings and all other structures and huge ships.
What?
Yeah. Why not? It's extended. Who cares? If you can't beat a Raider and like one TIE fighter, that's on you.
I'm in. Whatever. I'm in.
I think it'd be cool. Like, everyone's got all these models sitting around. Like, I think it'd be cool to bring, like, this is my I always say the name wrong, Ganzati. My assault carrier list. And you got cool ships you got tucked into it. Like, I think that would be cool if that was like the meta. Not like the meta, like it would be like super overpowered or whatever, but like like you gotta watch out for those Kazatis, fan. Whew.
I mean, I remember in early first edition, there was an option for a while for at least to bring those huge ships as obstacles instead of the 3 obstacles. You bring those. I would love to see something like that back, because one of the things they do is they bring visual interest to the table, right? They shake it up just a little bit. And doesn't that just like adds a whole nother meta twist, even if they just made it for obstacles? You can't play it, but as an obstacle, you get to place it. Now you have asteroids, you have debris, you have the gas clouds, or a carrier ship that's in the way. Cool. I like it. And I think that would be a way to keep the pace, like, rather than it being epic, right? Because epic, I'm going to say the problem, okay? And this is as somebody who's played, I played a ton of first edition Epic because of Outrider and loved it. I haven't had an opportunity to do the second edition just because of time. But the problem with Epic as the main competitive format, because I've seen that thrown around. Why isn't Epic our main competitive format? We have these other games where they have like Armada. Armada's 3-hour rounds. Why can't we just do that in X-Wing? I think one of the appeals of X-Wing is that it is a miniatures game that does have at least a better pace than those 3-hour games. It's still an hour and 15 minutes, but it moves a little bit. Alrighty, like that. That is I like that. I like that. Will, hot take there. What about you, Marcel? What's something crazy that AMG could bring up that would surprise you?
I would love it's the resistance to be more of a thing. So for you to be able to have reinforcements as part of so you bring your 150 point or your 200 point list, and then you get a reinforcement either based on time, like a time release. So after 5 rounds, everybody gets to throw in their reinforcements, or as you kill something or you hit, just a way to bring in reinforcements and kind of switch it up and let those reinforcements be what's the word? Let it be scenario based. So for what I mean by that is, as you're playing, like you can have 3 or 4 ships as reinforcements, but based on how the game is going, you're like, okay, this is the ship that it's going to become my reinforcement, and just be able to because one of the things that I get bored of, and I think everybody else gets bored of in a tournament, is flying the exact same list without any variation throughout a 6-game period. So I would love to see the ability to tweak to 1.0, tweak it a little bit, and kind of
some type of sideboard.
I was gonna say, so you want like what a lot of card games implement eventually, which is like a side deck.
Yeah, something to switch it up so that a 12 or 13-hour tournament doesn't get too stale, and by round 5 or 6 you're just bored.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I like that. Or maybe for competitive play, what you would do is you would have like a certain set of ships that you have to meet certain requirements, and at the start of the game, you choose one of them to put to the side. That'd probably be the fairest way to do it during the game. Is like, I'm choosing this one to be my side piece. Okay, and you make that decision based on what your opponent is making or playing.
I mean, can they just make it official rule that if you're X and 3, you can change your list?
I mean, maybe.
that'd be really hard to
manage,
force and manage. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. But, no, I do like the idea of having, let's say you brought 4 ships, and that's your list, but then you have 2 additional ships, and then after 3 rounds, you can bring your reinforcement. You can choose, but at the moment, you choose which reinforcement you bring. And both ships do the same thing.
I think it's having an X amount of points to be able to use as a side deck, and you can only swap in that amount of points, right?
Mm-hmm. Huh. I like this. I will say some of our big meta even us, right? When we analyze a meta, it will be a little bit of a pain in the butt, right? Be like, all right, so this person brought this list but had this sideboard. We have no idea which one they played. We'll have to ask, but it definitely sounds interesting. Some people are saying a 2-list format probably easier. Well, that exists already. That's called Hangar Bay. Right? That 2-list format already exists. But the problem with Hangar Bay, the problem I have with Hangar Bay is for a lot of people, if you've ever done like a World's Hangar Bay, there's always about half the people who say, I only brought 1 list. I'm playing this one. Like, in concept, it is a great idea. In practice, the person just doesn't need to bring a second list.
And practically, it's hard to carry 2 lists. I mean, just from a logistics, it's easier to bring 1 additional ship or 2 additional ships than it is to bring an entirely second list when you're traveling for a tournament.
Yeah, that allows you to keep in the same faction and all that. I like that, guys. There you go. Marcel throwing out some big ones. So far, so good. What about you, Ryan? What is the pipe dream? What you got?
I'm going to go on the other end of Will's argument. I want these tighter knit formats to get even tighter. I want not like the ship pool smaller and the upgrade pool smaller. I want them to maybe implement ban lists or card limits. The pips, right? Pips theoretically, but make the pips PDFable, right? Don't make it locked into the card, right? Make it so if we want to lower the price of defenders, you get 2 pips though. That's it. You still only get 2 of them, right? Some along those lines to where a little more specific. But also, while you can make it more specific, it also lends itself to a little more flexibility because the more you can tweak, the more you can interchange things back and forth, right? So I don't want AMG to be afraid to say, that card right there, we made an oops. It gone. Gone. 100%. Straight gone. Even in extended, just gone. So that if they need to make any necessary balances so that they're not... Because they'll worry about some of the, if extended were to continue to just bubble, like go bigger all the time. Nothing gets taken out ever. It's going to burst. Some always happens. We can adjust it as we want, but like, say, what if Vader right now was going nuts and Afterburners was the reason, and like we know Afterburners is good, but let's say he's like ridiculously cheap, but FFG wants to see Vader played. Like, what if we just say, okay, just Afterburners, you got to go, but Vader, you can still exist, but we're going to tweak something to give you later that's like supernatural. This is a good one. Supernatural reflexes, ban, precog, better, right? They almost kind of did that if they would have just said out supernatural. Here's what we kind of should have done instead. There's an actual consequence a little bit to use this thing. It's a little cheaper, so it's more usable. So they can look at pilots and upgrades that the community enjoys on a theme or favoritism basis, realize they went a little overboard on it, and be ready to say, that's gone, but here's the new one. Or here's the refresh thing that makes it different, that more aligns with what we want to do. So being ready to just act something if they need to.
Well, I guess Bahamut Dragon Lord in the chat says AMG has banned cards in Marvel Crisis Protocol. Now, and it would be interesting.
I think I've seen that said somewhere. So I want them to be ready to do this too in Star Wars games.
All right. I like that. I like it. All right. For myself, this one is more, I would say, practical out of all of them, but I still think it's a long shot. Maybe on Wednesday we will hear about some new ships. Maybe we'll get a timeline of releases. Maybe if we go a step further, maybe they even give us a sneak peek and say, imagine the hype they would create if they went, all right, and before we let you guys go, June 2021, Razor Crest. Boom. Put up the picture, put some cards, AMG out, and ended the stream. People would go nuts, right, if they did something like that. So that's my pipe dream of them just dropping the mic on just something, a big release that everybody wants. And I think the most obvious one is the Razor Crest. I think that they would just generate maximum hype with that. Or even if it's something else that they specifically say, either we're releasing this, or even if they gave us like, all right, this is the timeline of releases for things that were already worked on, because we know that there was already some stuff in the pipeline. This is when those things will be released, and our first AMG project is something really cool. Right? If they talk about specifically what is the first thing that they're going to get their hands on, something that would excite us, that could be cool. Maybe, all right, you guys ready for me to go crazy here? Maybe the High Republic. Okay? Hey, okay? Now, I know it's crazy. But I have been digging into those books, and it's awesome, okay? There are some very clear factions. There are some very clear factions in there. The Old Republic isn't canon, though, Marcel. It's not canon. So I'm looking for canon. We got the High
Neither
Republic.
are half the pilots and ships we have now.
I know, but I'm thinking about the model. The model right now that they're going by is by stuff that's canon. And I think it could be cool. It could be where we got vectors coming in. You could get the clouds and the storms from the Nihil. Like there are ships in those books that they're talked about, and they talk about them in pretty good detail. And I think it could be cool. That again,
which of the factions are the space Vikings they talked about?
the Nihil.
Give me the Nihil. Space Vikings.
Yeah,
I'll grow the beard.
Like, I think, like, some people would say, oh, just put them in scum and villainy. The problem is that every time you get some other imperial, like, non-imperial, empire-ish group, you can't just stuff them in scum and villainy, because scum just kind of just keeps growing. And eventually, it's going to need to be chopped up. Bahamut Dragonlord says, dropping new factions on day one will blow up the world. That's what I said. Pipe dream. That'd be crazy.
You're not wrong, Dion. Like, from what my take of the announcements of High Republic, of like, they're committed to it. They want a new universe. They want to not be tied down by Rebels versus Empire, and what's the Skywalkers up to. Like, they kind of want to let that past die. And I feel like who's ever making moves, people call it the mouse. I don't know what that means, but that Star Wars is moving to the High Republic era. Think slate. They can do different things. So, like, if AMG has a plan after 2023, I think it has to include the High Republic. Like, there's going to be so much content that they can't ignore it.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
Oh God. Okay, don't give me flashbacks. But I think they're hedging their bets a little bit with like the High Republic, and then what like Filoni and them are doing. Bringing like that time period in between with Thrawn and all of that. And I think they're kind of hedging their bets a little bit. Whatever, they'll continue to build what sells. Which I think we know which one will that be, but it creates an environment where they can just go crazy with it. So that'll be interesting.
All right, yeah. I mean, we'll see. I will say I have already started writing an episode of us trying to think of abilities and cool things that could be in the High Republic, because it was like within chapter 2 I was like, man, what could this look like in X-Wing? And I got some big ideas. I want to give some time for people who want to read the books to kind of digest it. At least I will say, get the first book that you need to do is the one by Soul. If you're gonna be jumping into the High Republic, Light of the Jedi. Start there. Then you can go in any order you want after that. But Light of the Jedi, start there. get an understanding. Highly recommend the audiobooks. That's how I consume it. Mostly, I have physical books for notes, and that's where I write stuff. But you also get the pronunciation of things from Star Wars. So like I know a lot of us are saying like the Nile, but they actually put a little bit of an H in there and a heel, like just a little bit. But yeah. Anyway, I think it could be cool. That's my pipe dream. So, this is a good talk. I'm excited. So here's my plan for Wednesday. I have already gotten approval to take a half day on Wednesday from my real job, okay? And I moved my lessons around so I can end up teaching my kids at different days and different times so that I can be available to be watching that stream live, okay? Be in the chat, and then once they are done, I'll go live, and if you guys are available, you guys can jump on, Ryan, Marcel, and Will, and we'll have those conversations. I know some people were asking if maybe we would do like a viewing party stream. I don't want to do that on purpose. It's calculated. First, I don't want to be like no disrespect. We don't want to take your viewers. And two, I think the more viewers that they have watching the stream, the more impact they're going to realize. Like, wow, there's a lot of people interested in this. And the less that we split viewership, okay, if the less that we split viewership, the more we the more support that we can put under them. So I'm excited for that.
Can I side tangent one thing?
Do it.
All right. So can we talk about X-Wing streams? FFG did FFG Live for a while. Atomic Mass Games currently has their transmissions. The FFG Live was kind of hit or miss. It was more of like what do I want to say? Like an interviewing show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they would occasionally play a couple games or so while they're interviewing the developers, right? But Atomic Mass Games is mostly just doing painting on their Twitch channel. Why? I guess my question is, why aren't they taking advantage of such an easy tool to get word out? Like, I mean, because they're the official stream of, the game or whatever, you would imagine that like they would get the most viewership.
You're right. You're right. I would call it an underutilization of a marketing tool, right? They're underutilizing a potential market. And I think likely the painting they've been doing for the last year has been a bit of a stopgap, kind of like this is something that we can do every week that people who are interested in Atomic Mass Games, Marvel Crisis Protocol, like will keep them engaged because they also have a really good painter on there. So, people are learning.
The painting's amazing, for
right?
Sure. Right.
So I think it's been a stopgap. I think this Wednesday will give us, I think, insight into how their media will start to evolve. And I will say this, and I'm about to drop something on you guys just a little bit that the three of you, I don't know if you guys know, and a hope. Here's a hope and a worry. Okay, and that's how we're gonna end this segment. The hope is, I hope that AMG also utilizes the established community leaders that we have already, okay? Now, what do I mean by that? Like, I've already said that I've reached out to, AMG already. If they made connections with Gold Squadron, Fly Better, the European... the XTC leaders, the Australian groups, all these different groups, okay? If they connect with us, I think that is also going to establish them just a little bit more. Now, AMG comes off to me as a little bit more of a kind of like a more scrappy company than FFG. They seem to want to be more of the people, especially with the very down to earth painting streams that they've been doing. But we'll have to see what that happens what's their marketing plan. Now, here's my worry. Full transparency here. The new head of studio, Simone, was also the head of legal at FFG. That's what she used to be. Okay? So specifically licensing. So she was the person she was my gatekeeper, the two worlds that I went and was able to stream Worlds. And the last Worlds that they had us, not the very last one, but the one before that, I had a 45-minute conversation with the legal team at FFG. Basically, they were asking some tough questions about, this is okay, this is not okay, this is okay. And some of it we agreed to do, some of it we didn't agree to do, in exchange for this, that, and the other. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm just curious. Her being the head of the company, I'm curious to see how the community interaction was, because and of course that was their job, right? Their job was to be the gatekeeper. Now I'm just curious to see how that will shift over, because I think, especially being the new crew taking over the Star Wars games, I think them being as community accepting as they can be, as they're legally allowed, I would put that out there, I think will be the best course for them. So we'll see. We will see. All right, guys, we got a little bit of time left. Let's do some lists of the week, yeah, and then we'll blow this popsicle stand. Okay. So let me go ahead and get my screen ready for that, because I wasn't ready. Okay, and we will press a couple buttons for y'all so that you can see what we are throwing down. Let's see if this works. Goodbye, music. All right. Do I have? All right. Cool. All righty. Who's got the first list?
I'll take it out. I'm at the top here.
Do it.
All right. This is coming from Spicy McHaggis. This is from a couple weeks ago, but I thought it was interesting enough to bring it up this week. This is a hyperspace list, and he's looking at suggestions to do with the remaining points. Do you got pulled up? Yep. It has a patrol leader, the only hyperspace decimator pilot, with Emperor Palpatine. And then with that is 3 ruthless strikers with thermal detonators. So I've seen this something similar, but it was like 3 or 4 bombers with a patrol leader. And you don't really have the bombers here. Now, has 11 points left over. Can't get any more pilots. Can get 1 more crew for the patrol leader. I mean, he could probably use some bombs. But let's take a look at some pilots here. I don't know about the strikers. I literally don't know about them. It looks like they have just the planetary sentinels and black squadron scouts, which makes sense, onto there. And I can see the combination here, the ruthless. You just light up that patrol leader whenever you need some extra hits. I could see it being pretty interesting there. I think what it's missing is some more beef, though. So I'm actually going to delete one of those black squadron scouts.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep the bombs, though. I don't know if I got the points for bombs. Let me try to put a brute in there. Oh no, the brutes are generics too. Oh man, Imperials, what are you doing? I put that. I forgot that their only named pilots are the TIE Fighters and Reapers. So not a lot to work with there. I was trying to get an ace into there to really get some, I don't know, some flexibility, I guess. Let's just get some bombs. Let's just start with some more thermal detonators. That should be great. And the Dauntless title as well. Gonna want to keep up that reinforce. And I don't know if skilled bombardier. I guess we're just putting a hull upgrade on there. Yeah, I'm not really seeing. I do like Callus though. Can't make room for Callus. Oh no, I'm 1 point over. Dion, what you think? What's better, Dauntless or Callus? Probably Dauntless.
Probably Dauntless. Probably Dauntless. Even though you're initiative 2, just to a lot of people like bringing initiative 1. Gives you some options there. And then sorry.
Well,
so,
I mean, it's just because you're a large base, so you might not have another option other than just crashing into there.
I wanted to double check something. So did I miss? You got 2 strikers. Is this? Are we back to 3 strikers?
No, we're back to 3 strikers.
Okay.
I think you are on the right track, Spicy McHaggis. But I would definitely throw on some bombs. I wish I could make this thing a little bit more tankier, but the only thing I can really do is get the hull upgrade. There's not really any options for these strikers. 7 points, 6 points. No, I think I would just leave it there. Put on thermal detonators, hull upgrade, and Dauntless title for the patrol leader there. Give you some extra bombs. Make sure that he's getting that reinforced action to be extra healthy so he can keep drawing the fire. And now you got so many bombs. I can't even count that high. It's 16. 60 bombs.
So many bombs.
So yeah, the list ends up then being patrol leader, Emperor Palpatine with thermal detonators, hull upgrade, and Dauntless title. And then 3, I just left the 3 strikers the same with ruthless and thermal detonators.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our next one that comes to us from Symbiote 626.
All right, this is a separatist list. Symbiote saying, trying something new. Thought I'd give the Seps a run and try out the new Try droid, pun intended. So I want to make sure that was in there. So this is an extended list. We start off with the Belbalab 22 with Captain Sear, Kraken, Impervium Plating, and Solus 1. Lots of upgrades. It's an expensive ship, but has some good things about it. It does work. And then 3 of the Fearsome Predators, the 3 pip ones that assign that fearful prey condition only to 1 ship, because that is a unique condition, but all 3 can have their effect work on that 1 ship. After you defend against an enemy Fearsome Predator, which all 3 of the Tri-Droids are, if you did not spend at least 1 green token during the attack, gain 1 strain. So start stacking some strain, could be effective. All of these Fearsome Predators have Predator to get some rerolls on that bullseye shot, on top of Captain Sear getting that crack shot-like ability, and then all of them have independent calculations, because once one takes them, it is a standardized upgrade. All of them of that chassis must take it. So instead, going with the double calculate and not sharing. One thing, so if you are just trying the Tri-Droids, I would make, and this is actually a suggestion I'm going to make to everybody. This is going to learn today level stuff here. I have not seen nor believe in Tri-Droids without friends around them to provide calculates, such as vultures. Now, I get Krakens in this list. You can bank some calculates, but the power of these droids is in the network calculations. And I think most lists that I've seen that utilize 2 to 3 tries and another ship, such as a Fire Spray or a Belbalab, I haven't seen some great success with it. I don't think they have that great of matchups in general. You can hunt down those tri droids actually kind of easily, because if they're independent, they're just weaker IGs, right? They can double calculate, but they don't have the health to last that long under a lot of fire. And if they're networked, then they got to stick together, and there's maybe 3 of them in the other ship. So like it's a very tight area of threat that people can move around. So one of the first things I'm going to start with is we are actually going to axe Captain Seer, and we're going to change all those tri-droids to just colloquoid interceptors and get rid of their upgrades. Because we're just here for their efficient chassis and the fact that because of network calculations, they are going to be tough to kill when you make the decision, okay, my opponent's going after them, this is where I evade and let my buddies around me provide those focus changing results with the calculates. They're really hard to kill. Mathematically, killing a tri-droid backed up by enough calculates and an evade, it's almost as hard to kill as a silencer. So that's that. We're going to go off of that. So what do we need for 3 tri-droids? Well, we pair them up with friends. We're going to go 3 Trade Federation Vultures, all with grappling struts. And now I haven't found that you don't need to fly all these in a perfect formation either. You can flex a few of these tri-droids out so that you can take advantageous of their boosting to calculate. So if they want to cut back in and be with a friend for network calculations, they can. But they can also provide a flanking threat as well. So our final ship, so I think Dion on stream I'm seeing 4 Vultures, only 3. And then the last ship we're going to implement is we're going to get some of those rerolls on offense. And we're going to do that by getting some Dark One probe droids on the field. So we're going to add a single Hyena bomber, just the base Techno Union, with Dark One probe droids and ion missile for the last 2 points. Now, if you're feeling a little more frisky, and you're probably and if you wanted to maybe fly some of these vultures closer to the tri-droids, maybe in just a direct pair, you could take off those grappling struts and swap that ion missile to an ion torpedo and put struts on the Hyena. I'm highly valuing ion torpedoes right now, but I do understand the value of the grappling struts, which is why I would start here. Not to say this is like a true finalized list, but if you're just trying out tri-droids, trust me when I say this, you want to have network calculations online and you need friends with them. I personally don't know many. I haven't made many lists where I even have more than 2 tri-droids. But if you want to try 3 of them, I think this is a good list to just put them on the board, see how they do, and see how many of them you may want to have on the board. Because if you take one of these out and swap some stuff around, you might be able to get more missiles, torpedoes, Discord missiles, other toys for these other ships. But for now, if you treat the Vultures as ways to make sure your tri-droids have more modifications, you're going to get more out of your tri-droids than putting more upgrades into them, like independent calc or like talent slot type stuff, or even missiles or sensor type things. I think just as a base chassis as they are, they're actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were trying to at first use these as kind of like mini Sunterfels, right? The problem is that they don't have the defensive ability that Soontir has, and calculates do not equal focus tokens. There's no way to be focus evaded unless you're in a group getting those, your own evade and then some calculates out there kind of gives you that pseudo ability. Very cool, Ryan. Very cool. All right, we got one more list. All right, Marcel, what you got here? Oh, wait, do you have your fixed version and the other one there? Is that what I see?
Yeah, I got both.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
But I got, you'll see.
All right,
so
cool.
This was Fast Walker, and this was a direct request. He was saying that He's anxious to hear the suggestions I have about Procketeers. Probably because I've been flying the A-Wings with the Prockets. And it says it's been... let me skip to what it says. He just basically wants to see about it. So let's just talk about this. So he's got... the idea is that to go full violence with the TIE BAs and their fine-tuned auto-thrusters gives them fully modded rocket shots, proton rocket shots. So what he has 4 TIE BA interceptors, first order, all of them with Daredevil, automated target priority, and proton rockets. Each one comes in 49 points, so 196 points. So, first let's just talk a little bit about what the list can and can't do. First of all, it's initiative 3. So lining up those Prockets, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So just keep that in mind, that it will be a bit of a challenge to get those Prockets to line up. Additionally, I don't know how much benefit you get from the automated target priority because you have to shoot the closest ship. And if you're alpha striking something that's almost dying and you line up a Procket and you get it down to like one hull, then the other ships may not be able to follow up and kill it before it shoots if it's like an initiative 2 or initiative 1 ship. So that kind of hurts it. And then Daredevil, while it's a really great, I love Daredevil. I like it on initiative 5 and 6 and things with a bid because that's essentially a get a shot when you otherwise wouldn't get a shot. Additionally, the TIE BAs are not great Procket carriers, even though it seems like they might be because they can, take a strain and get a target locked and shoot off the focus, or they can like barrel roll for a strain and line up the bullseye to get a Procket. One thing that they cannot do that most Procket carriers want to do is they cannot boost. They don't have a link action to boost focus, which is really big. But we'll see what we can make it work. And let's start off by getting rid of all the Daredevils and automated target priorities. And as you do that, let's also delete the last one. And in its place, let's throw Commander Malrus. And on Commander Malrus, we're going to put Agent Terex so we can get a mod out there. An additional mod, defensive mod, if one needs it. And then we're also going to throw Tactical Officer as well. And essentially at Initiative 5, what you're trying to do is since at Initiative 3, you don't know where these ships are going to be, just make sure that they get their focus or make sure they end up where you think you want them to be. And then go ahead at Initiative 5 after other ships have moved and either get your target lock to double mod the Procket or go ahead and boost or barrel roll or do whatever you need to do in order to do that. And then Agent Terex can, on top of that, throw an additional token on them to make sure that they don't, if they have to spend their focus on defense, they get a thing for that as well. Now you end up with the same bid, 196 if the bid was important. If you're not as worried about the bid, then you can take the final 4 points and just put marksmanship on all of the provocateurs to make those hit a little bit harder. And then on the Commander Malrus shuttle, go ahead and throw in Marge Sable Closure, because a lot of the times you may just be going through rocks and things just to stay close to the group. And again, with Commander Malrus's native ability anyway, you're probably getting some rerolls if you roll some blanks with those Prockets. So this is a better way to get mods and also to get the coordination at Initiative 5. So you can go ahead and line up those Prockets a little bit better. But if what you want to do is shoot Prockets at fully modded Prockets at Initiative 3, and you're not, we're going to break the rules. We're just going to hit the tab on the top to switch over to Empire. There you go. You already have it built out. So yeah. So essentially, these are Initiative three. They're the same initiative as the Thai BAs. They get a force. So you get a force with these. So you get that calculate that Agent Terex would be tossing their way. You get a fifth ship, and on top of that, these guys can focus. They can barrel roll and focus, or they can boost and barrel roll. I mean, they can boost focus or barrel roll focus. And then you get two of them with threat tracers to go ahead and guarantee those double modded shots as well. Again, their primary is not as strong, but yeah, you get 3 Prockets out there, you get 2 tracers out there, and you get basically a force with all of them every turn, and they get to either boost focus or barrel roll focus. You're going to line up those bullseyes a little bit better, and it's going to be tougher to kill these guys as well. So, yeah, that's what I got.
That's awesome. Love that. Absolutely love that. Lots of cool things there. Thank you guys for doing List of the Week. Remember, you can submit List of the Week options on our Discord, ! Discord. Go down to submissions, List of the Week. Now, I believe we got 10 minutes left. Let's go ahead, and I believe, Will, you pulled a few questions of the week. Which one do you want us to start here with first?
I wanted to go with the gamesmanship question.
Alrighty, so it says, okay.
Yep.
This is from Sam M, right? Here is a gamesmanship question. How do you keep from ruining a game with your opponent when the dice are completely one-sided? And I mean completely one-sided. Now, I'll go ahead and start here. So I think there's two parts to this equation. It's you and the opponent, right? Because I think the perception of the entire situation is going to be 100% dependent on how your opponent looks at the game. But even top players can get triggered by dice, and I think one of the things that's important is that when you're playing and when you've recognized that the dice are one-sided, I think it's important to address it, but it depends on how you address it, which will affect the reaction. So, for instance, if I am destroying Marcel, because all I'm rolling is natties, right? Natties. And I feel like Marcel has experienced this when we've played before, where I'm just like, all crits, all evades, and he can't throw a symbol to save his life. Like Marcel, I look like Marcel as like a brother that I never, brother from another mother, right? So if it's Marcel, I'll be like, this is all skill, right? Like I will dig in to Marcel because he's my good friend. But if I'm playing someone who I don't feel like that with, all right, I am not going to be like, yeah, that's how it goes. Like, I think part of it is your demeanor and who you're playing. If it's somebody you have no idea who it is, something as simple as recognizing, like, man, these dice are really one-sided. And maybe even, and this, you got to be careful with this a little bit. I would like your guys' opinion is, sometimes it's good to give your opponent an out and just be like, hey, if you wanna take a break, it's cool. Or if you don't, what's a better wording that you could say there? I'm trying to think of what's a non-aggressive, offensive way to say we don't have to finish this game. Maybe that's it. We don't have to finish playing if you don't want to, or something like that.
These dice don't seem to be treating you well. Do you just want to not use them anymore?
Yeah.
You want to call it?
Yeah. I mean, I think something like that could help the situation. It's not perfect because the problem. This is a question asking about how do I manage my opponent's emotions. That's what, if we boil this down, that's what the question is. And the thing is that people's emotions are completely based off of their individual experiences. Like, there are people, and I know the chat will probably blow up when I say this and be like, yeah, that's me. There are people who legitimately think that every dice they roll is terrible. Like, they completely ignore, they don't remember ever when they actually do roll a symbol. They only remember when they roll blanks, right? And I feel like most of us have that bias where we remember the extremes of both ends and we forget about the average. Like but the thing is, dice can be so emotional. I'm going to give you guys a story, okay? Here's a story. I was playing in a store championship, and Marcel, I think you played against this guy too. Super nice guy, good X-Wing player. And this was like, we were in a tight game, and before the game, he asked, he goes, Dion, is it okay if I use this blank white dice and roll them with my dice? And I was like, why? I asked why. And he goes, I call him the coach. I'm like, what, the coach? He goes, yeah. Basically, when I think my dice need a little extra pep, I add it into the bunch and roll it with it. It encourages my dice to roll better. It's the coach. I'm like, sure. And of course, right, it's in reality, that blank dice did nothing, right? It did nothing. Sure, it rattled around with it. It physically touched the other dice. But the results were positive for him, and my emotions, my brain went, what is this black magic, right? Like, that was my initial reaction was that. And like, I ended the game and I was just like, after reflecting, I was like, am I really triggered about something that really didn't matter? And yeah, I was, but it took a second to take those emotions. But man, this is a tough question because of those things. Even the most practical people can have emotional reactions to dice because you have no control on it. What are your guys' thoughts?
I definitely go ahead, Ram.
I was say, I wish your thought process after that game with that single coach dice was what everyone had about all their dice. It doesn't matter.
Right. Oh man. And if I don't remember this player's name. I don't remember this player's name, but if you're out there, just give me like tag me on Discord or something like that, and I would love a picture of the coach just so I can share it. All right. He also had a dice jail. Okay, he had a 3D printed dice jail. Like when the dice rolled bad, he put them in there, and it was like after like 2 or 3 turns, he'd let them out, right, and then put them in with the coach. It was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But yeah, people get super superstitious about the dice. I mean, think about this: how much when I introduced the idea of stream dice, people were really weird about it at first, right? People were really weird about it. What do you mean? I can't use my own dice? Like, nope, this is the dice we use, right? This is what we got, okay? And we've seen them giveth and taketh away. In reality, if we analyze all the rolls, it would end up being average, and everything is fine, but it's completely perception based, all right? And the chat knows, the audience knows, like they've watched those and seen those dice go, just destroy somebody or make them look like a god and never get hit, right? It's hilarious.
So I mean, like when you're dealing with that sort of gamesmanship situation, it really is, like you said, it depends on your relationship with the person. Say in most cases, probably the weirdest one is you don't know the person, right? And dice are going weird. I kind of start like feeling out like, all right, can I like joke about it, but not at them about like the dice or the game? Or like I kind of go the feel their pain route. Like if I see something bad happen, I'm not celebrating because it's great for me. I'm like, oh man, that wasn't average. It feels bad, man. Like I feel you a little bit. Like I know I'm on the advantageous side of this, but I understand how you're feeling. Yeah. And then if it does go that bad, I think you're right. I think like it doesn't seem like you're really feeling this game. Like I don't know if you want to like keep playing, not looking good, and you can give them like I have gone through the decision tree with people like, if you keep this going, this is how you win. Like out there, like this is what you would need to do. But if you're not if you're feeling like tilted, or if you're feeling like, man, this just kept hitting me, and I just need a break, like just offer that option to them. I think it's a great option. As we know, a lot of people enjoy X-Wing events for the not playing the X-Wing game. Sometimes they enjoy the camaraderie.
Yeah. Absolutely. So then this is I think a tangent off of this question of the week is, how do you interact with people who are being emotional about average dice? Right? Like, because that is also, so I think we've all been in a situation where too many people forget that on 3 dice, trail mix is the expected result. Hit, focus, blank, right? On 3 attack dice. Like, that is the expected result. So if you don't have modifiers, your expected number of hits is 1, right? That's like your average. And it is interesting to interact with people who don't realize those things, or the people who have the 1 agility ship with no modifiers, and on each of those rolls, it's something like a 33% chance, only a 33% chance to get an evade anyway, all right? And you're rolling it and going like, man, my 1 agility ship can't do anything, all right? And being surprised that your 1 agility ship did anything. When I fly a 1 agility ship, it's just a hope that maybe one of the times out of the X number of times I get attacked, I get an evade. Like that's what that buys me. It's like 1 hull or 1 shield. But that's maybe about it. It's interesting. But anyway, that is a whole thing. Let's save these 2 questions for next week. The other ones that we have there, Will, and we'll see if they come up. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens this Wednesday with the AMG stream. It's Atomic Mass Games on Twitch, by the way, their channel. And we'll be in the chat with you guys, and looking forward to seeing what they have to say. We'll break it down afterwards. We'll talk about it. We'll think about it. We'll get emotional about it. We'll hope. We'll dream. We'll be scared. All the things. But we'll be here, right? So make sure you guys like, follow. And by the way, for those of you listening live, we will upload the audio about our talk about after AMG after it. But likely, if they use a lot of images, we're probably going to have to lean on the images a little bit. As you guys know, we've been trying more to paint you a picture with our words, but might be a video, might be a better idea to watch the video if you're struggling a little bit with the audio on that one. But again, we'll try our best. Any shout outs before we sign off for the day, and before people start preparing their minds for AMG and for the Delta qualifier happening this weekend?
I got a shout out to. I got 2 shout outs. One of them is just a shout out to all of the new captains for the XCC in now we've got because it's going tabletop simulator. Now we've got Peru, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, and we're looking to get more. We're getting close to 40 teams that'll be participating in the X-Wing Team Championships. We're really excited about that. It'll be kind of like a World Cup environment. And then another shout out to Nick Sperry. He put together a really good league that just ended this weekend. Had a ton of fun with it, and I think he did a really good job of just keeping people on task, keeping people just did a really good job just running the whole thing from the actual week to week leagues to the playoff on Sunday. So shout out to Nick.
Cool. All right. Well, if Ryan, Will, anything before we go? You guys good? You don't have to shout anybody out.
I was trying to confirm the information, but I believe it's the oh no, I got to confirm the information. Go, Ryan. What you got?
Absolutely nothing. For now.
Well, shout out.
I can't think of anything.
Shout out to everybody who signed up for the qualifier this Sunday. It looks like as of right now, we have around 95 participants. Again, if you guys want to get those, this is what happened last time too. We had about 95. We ended up at around 150 after the weekend. Marcel?
Rules clarification question.
Yes.
On your on the Gold Squadron page on the website,
Yep.
it says where it says the prizes.
Mhm.
It says you get a pin based on your best result.
Yes.
So I did 5-1 with the resistance, so that means I would get like a resistance pin, right?
No, you're gonna get it. The 5-1. Well, you're probably gonna get a resistance pin because that is probably a top.
Is
8.
it 2 different pins?
It's 2 different pins. So there's,
okay, that's what I was
there's
confused.
Recruit, because there's different pictures there, right? There's recruit, ace, or veteran. Okay, well, ace is the top one. You're gonna get an ace pin automatically, and if you made the top 8, which it sounds like you did, of your faction in Swiss, you will get a resistance pin as well.
Okay, so if I were to play, and let's say I play Scum or Republic, as long as I do the top 8, regardless of what I do, as long as it's in the
top 8 of the faction, you can get a Scum.
Faction.
Yeah. Yes, and we're going to be providing more opportunities to get those faction pins because I know people want to collect them all. I got some ideas for you. We're going to have the opportunity to collect them all. In this series, you'll be able to collect up to 5 of them. Up to 4 of them because it's the qualifiers, all 4. So then you might be 3 short, but I got you. Just wait. All right, Will, did you confirm your information?
Yeah, I was talking to Greg about it earlier. They had just announced a collaboration between Nickel City, 312, and the candidate clarinetist, our good friends in Twitch streamers, that they're putting together a tournament called the Tri-City Tournament, which does not overlap with Gold Squadron because it is on March 6th, and the top cut is on the next day then, I assume. Is the 6th? Yeah, 6th is Saturday. So it's a big shout out to those guys. They're big friends of our channel and myself, and they've been putting in some hard work. It sounds like Nick's already had some good success with the local league, so they're trying to put out some more things for getting games in on their channels. That's
awesome.
Tri-City Tournament.
All right, and you could probably find that stuff on
found
Facebook.
Out something.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Less of a shout out and more of another declaration of, and still your reigning, defending, undisputed Alpha Intergalactic Lore Master 2000 until defeated me.
Boom, 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 boom. The undefeated. Undefeated. We cannot be touched. Destroyed. Destruction. Ryan knows all the pages on and what rules they're on.
Oh, well, I mean, more than the people I faced. There's definitely been some questions I went like, I don't know that.
All right.
I took my best guess.
All right, everybody. Well, everybody stay. You know what? I do want to take a second and also talk about an initiative that we're starting here, that I'm starting here very soon. I want to get an official page up off the ground and all that. And this is, if you follow the channel, you know that this, yesterday, I got my first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine. Today, Mrs. Gold Squadron got the Moderna vaccine. She was able to get an appointment because we're both teachers, and I want to start a bit of a campaign, okay? A bit of a campaign in our community, and the campaign's name is Evade COVID, okay? And my goal for this is twofold, okay? It is simply to encourage people to do what you got to do so that our world is Star Wars. X-Wing, right? That's our world. You know, we want to play in person again. Well, in order to do those things, we need to make sure that we are doing our part in order to help the reduction of spread of COVID-19. And then when you have your opportunity, make sure that you prioritize when you can to get the vaccine. I know that rollout's been really sloppy. Hopefully over time, things get cleared up. And for me, this is all about taking care of people and taking care of our community. So I'm going to be giving away a bunch of Evade COVID merch. There's nothing with nothing's bought or anything. This is all just an idea that I want to encourage. Is that, fam, we need to evade COVID so that we can play on that table again. All right? We'll talk a little bit more later. I love you guys. Stay smart. Stay safe. And let's roll some natties. Gold. Squadron.